The 2024 Euros has reached the quarter-final stage. In this video, we analyse every game and predict how each team will fare in the knockouts. This is our Euro 2024 quarter-finals preview. Alright, let's get into the quarter-finals then. What a tournament we've had so far at this European Championships. We'll kick off with the first game, the 5 o'clock, Spain versus Germany. Harry, is this the best game of the round?
I think so, yeah. For me, these are the two best sides at the tournament so far. And to be completely honest, I feel that it's a bit harsh. They've been drawn against each other in the quarterfinals. For me, this could have been the final in a few weeks' time. So, I mean, it's not. One of these sides has to go out. It's been a very, very difficult one to call. But overall, I think, yeah, as you say, we're in for a brilliant game of football, and it's definitely the highlight of the quarterfinals.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think, as you say, both the sides played really, really well. I think that it's going to be interesting to see here whether Spain's football translates against a really good side, because what we've seen is them be able to tear apart some decent teams, but nobody on the level of Germany yet. But I mean, you could argue both ways, because I think Germany haven't really had a huge test yet. Denmark did really well because they set up defensively, made it really difficult for Germany to break them down. But the group stage, especially for Germany, was very simple. For Spain, the group stage was a little bit more difficult, but equally, Croatia rolled over for them. Italy could have been about 5. It was only 1 in the end, thanks to Donnarumma, but that could have been 5-0 Spain. And then Albania wasn't exactly the most difficult game. So I still think Spain have got a bit to prove, because then obviously Georgia in the round 16, that was 4-1. That's the only goal that Spain have conceded at this tournament so far, which does bode well. But yeah, Germany had a tough time of it in the round 16. Does that put a little bit of doubt onto their quality? Is there a little bit there? Just because Denmark haven't looked good at this tournament and then they did give them a good go, or does that just speak volumes about how good Denmark were and how surprisingly bad their group stage was?
Yeah, that was the really weird one, because obviously Schlotterbeck had the disallowed goal early on, and then Mike Oliver got a bit scared and they had to go inside because of some lightning. So it was a really weird game. It was a hard one to call because there were so many benefactors into why why Team A might have played well or Team B might have been worse. It was a hard one to call. I think what Germany showed in that game more than anything, yes, the performance wasn't as convincing as it has been at the tournament for Germany. I think what they showed is their ability to get the result even when they're not playing well, to manage to turn over difficult teams even when they're up against it. When there's different factors and outcomes in the game, they still get the win across the line. And I think it was a big showing for Germany because of that.
Yeah, the big thing for me here is this could really show how important an elite level manager is, because I think Luis de la Fuente is a fantastic coach, but if it comes down to the fine margins, for me, Nagelsmann edges that. Because on the pitch, there's very little separating the two sides. I think that Rodri gives Spain a bit of an X factor in midfield because there is just a bit more defensive stability, but Toni Kroos and Andrich is still a fantastic midfield pairing. I think that Germany are slightly stronger in attacking areas, but it's so tight. I think that Williams and Yamal have been fantastic this tournament. I think that Fabian has been arguably the player of the tournament, so it's really difficult to contain them. But equally, Musiala, Wirtz, Sane, when he was used in the round of 16 game, have all looked really dangerous. So I think this is arguably the most difficult game at the tournament to call. If this was the final, what a final we'd have. It's a real shame the meeting in the quarters. If I was going to push you for not a prediction per se, but a loose expectation of what you think this game, or how you think this game will play out, how would you expect it to go?
Yeah, it's a very difficult one to call, because for me, as you say, it's going to either come down to an elite moment from Nagelsmann or a moment of individual quality from one of those players. I think if I had to say a side, I think I would suggest Germany, because I think if it is a tight game, I think, yes, I think Williams was phenomenal against Georgia and Yamal's had a good tournament, but they've also shown to me, especially Yamal, I know he's 16, I'm not going to rip into him, but he hasn't scored yet. He's had quite a lot of opportunities that he's put wide and things. So for me, if it comes down to it, when it comes down to a bit of individual quality to win the game, I think I'd look to someone like Wirtz or Musiala or even Niklas Füllkrug to come off the bench. I'd look to one of those before I'd look to a Yamal or a Williams.
Yeah, I think I follow a similar line of thinking, but more because Germany have that experience. Yes, it's still a relatively young side. You've got players like Wirtz, Musiala, even Kai Havertz, I would say, is still a relatively young player. You've got Mittelstädt, who's in his first tournament with the German national team. So there's a lot of young players there. But Spain are so young. Obviously Lamine Yamal's the obvious one, 16 years old. But players like Nico Williams, and even the players that aren't young, don't have a lot of major tournament experience. Because of the Spain team that was so strong, with even the backline like recently of Ramos and Piqué, there's not been a whole lot of international minutes for a lot of these players.
Yeah.
So even though you've got players in there who are sort of like even Fabian Ruiz, he's pushing 30 now, I believe, but he's never really got a go in the national team because of the strength of the side. So it's going to be an interesting one, but if it does come down, as you say, to those fine aspects, I think that leadership should shine through. And especially with players like Toni Kroos and Antonio Rudiger and Manuel Neuer, you've got players that have been there and done it multiple times. You've got Gundogan as well, who's a natural leader in there. I think Spain sorely lack that. They've got, of course, Rodri, I think is a really good leader. They've got Alvaro Morata, who I believe is their captain too, and obviously Dani Carvajal. So they've got leadership in there, but I think Germany would edge it in terms of experience. And I think that could just come, if it comes down to those fine margins, I think that can be the difference maker. I also think that Julian Nagelsmann is obviously an incredible manager. If it's going to come down to something like that, I'm going to back him every day of the week. Let's go on to the 8 o'clock then. A game which I think is a bit more difficult, well, maybe not as difficult to sort of pull apart. It's Portugal versus France. This very much depends on how highly you rate Portugal, because I don't think they've been particularly good at this tournament. I think they really ought to drop Cristiano Ronaldo if they want to be a little bit better in possession. I think he's really hampering what they're doing with the ball. I think Roberto Martinez is not a very good manager. I think that's been shown at this tournament. They're constantly changing between formations. They have no idea what they're doing. And to have to go through penalties against Slovenia, that's not a sign that they're a very good team for me. So I don't think Portugal are they're hyped up to be.
Yeah, I think this is an interesting one, because on the same line as Germany-Spain, it's a difficult one to call, but for the complete opposite reason. Both sides have had really, really poor tournaments. France, they still haven't scored a goal from open play from their own account. 2 own goals and a penalty is not what you expect from France. That it took them 85 minutes to break down Belgium, who, let's be honest, were terrible at this tournament. So I don't know what to expect from France. And Mbappe still seems to be hampered by his mask, and he's just not playing very well. But as you say, on the flip side, Portugal, they were a little bit more convincing in the group stage, but they were handed it by Czechia, Turkey, with God knows what they were doing that game. Then they lost to Georgia, and as you say, yes, Slovenia have had a really good tournament. But my oh my, that game should have never gone to penalties. I mean, if anything, Portugal were lucky that Diogo Costa bailed them out when Šeško went through on goal. And obviously Ronaldo missed his penalty and so forth. But overall, not good enough from either of these two sides. One of them's got to step it up. If they don't, we could quite literally watch a 0-0 that goes straight through to penalties.
Yeah, the problem for Portugal is that the whole team is built around Cristiano Ronaldo, and that stubbornness to continue to play him is hampering them massively. If you look at the stats, he's scored 12 goals since the World Cup in Qatar. 10 of those have come against nations ranked 60 or lower in the FIFA World Rankings. It shows he cannot compete at that elite level anymore. He plays in Saudi Arabia. We've seen very few players come over, play in Saudi, do well at this tournament. N'Golo Kante is probably the only... Well, Mary Demiral in that one game as well against Austria was phenomenal with his brace. But other than that, everyone who's gone to Saudi has been really poor at this tournament. And because they level drops. And it's no different for Ronaldo. Ronaldo's looked absolutely terrible. He looks off the pace. His movement and timing isn't what it used to be. He's too emotional, and the problem is, it feels like he doesn't understand he's not at the same level anymore. He's got this inbuilt arrogance where he doesn't seem to understand he's not as good as he used to be. And you can see that frustration building up because he can't do what he used to be able to. And the problem is, Portugal don't have the balls to drop him, and especially Roberto Martinez does not have the balls to drop him. And that's being frank, that's the issue. If Portugal wanted to win this tournament, Ronaldo doesn't play that quarterfinal. If he does, I think I can only see France winning, and France have been really poor at this tournament. And that's something they want to address. Not in the terms of not in defensive areas. They've looked fine. They've just not really scored, and it's weird because they created decent chances across all 3 group games, apart from maybe the Poland game, but they were through already. And it didn't really matter. So, but they're just not scored, and I don't get it. I don't know what is happening in that France team. It's weird, and it looks like they could go all the way while playing absolutely terribly, but everyone else is falling apart around them.
Exactly, and I think the interesting thing is, obviously, people, I know a lot of people say teams like England, they get nice runs, but the reason they say that is because on paper, it looks like France had a really difficult route to the final, and if they do get to the semi-final, that will be a very difficult game no matter who they play.
That's the thing, they've got to up that level for the semis.
But look at the Belgian game, look at the Portugal game. For me, Belgium probably played worse than Slovakia did against England
in this tournament.
And that's the thing. I think on paper, France are getting away with it because it looks like they've had a really difficult few games, but they haven't. They really haven't.
This isn't excusing England in any way because they've been absolutely crap.
Terrible.
And we'll get on to that in a moment. But I don't think France are at the level many people expected. And it's such a shame for me that Germany, Spain's a quarter-final. Because for me, they're the clear two best teams of this tournament. But that's just the way it works out, really, with the draws. Yeah. It's a shame because, again, that would have been my final. That would be one hell of a game. They're going to meet in the quarters. And I'm worried about the final because I look over the other side of the draw, which we're about to get onto, and I'm not sure we're going to see much quality come from that side. England might get to another Euros final here, based on the fact that everyone else is falling apart around them.
But it's a big chance for one of the four sides that we're about to talk about to step up and take advantage.
Yeah, Portugal-France, though, a loose prediction. Which way is that going?
I've got to go France. Yes, they've been poor, and yes, they're not playing up against some very decent sides at the moment, but they've got a knack for getting the win across the line, and Portugal look in complete tatters. I mean, they were moments away from losing to Slovenia. Yeah. And I mean, that would have been phenomenal if we were talking about Slovenia-France right now. But
shame Slovenia can't take penalties because if not, they would be through right now. But yeah, I think it's going to go with France unless Portugal change something massively, either their manager, Ronaldo, or both. I can't see them beating France. I just think that France have way too much quality, even if they can't get done with the 11 on the field. Yeah. I don't see Portugal scoring in normal time, and France are better players to come off the bench. Yeah. And so I think if it comes down to it, if we go penalties, it's another question. Because I don't know what Mainan's record is like on penalties, but obviously Costa with 3 saves. I know the Slovenia players weren't great taking pens, but he's clearly good at saving penalties.
I think Diego Costa's 13 from 32, which is about one every 3 penalties he's saving. Might be a bit more than that, but I think it's definitely 13 from around 30.
Which, when current data models put a penalty at around an 80% chance of the attacker scoring, that is a ridiculous record for him. Let's go on to the other games then, the other side of the draw. We'll start with the 5 o'clock, England versus Switzerland. The thing around England right now is England could definitely improve in this tournament. England could definitely still go all the way. The question mark is, will they? Because they've got to up that level if they want to win the final. They could win the quarter-final here and then the semi-final playing this same way. They'll just have to get quite lucky, quite frankly. But if they get in the final against what I expect to be either Spain or Germany, maybe even France, they will get torn apart if they keep playing like this. And that's the issue. That's why England fans go, well, we're winning, so why does it matter? But if we get into that final, we're going to lose playing like this.
Yeah, I think the one thing that the big change for me from the round of 16 game going into this quarter-final is that the one thing that England have always played really well off the back of is support from the fans. Now, we went into that round of 16 game with a lot of people not happy with how things are going. Now, because of the way... rightfully so. But because we turned it around, I think there's a lot more blind faith now that we back ourselves in this quarter-final. And obviously, let's be reasonable, England need to step it up. They need to step it up drastically. But I think, beating Slovakia in extra time should have been nowhere near what happened in that game. But I think because of those circumstances, there's a lot more fans that are now getting behind England, that are a bit more excited about England. And the players as well. That would have been big for the players. That would have felt a relief. And now, hopefully, in the quarter-final, they're going to go out there and England will play the way that we know they can. Because that's what they needed. I'm hoping the Slovakia result is a confidence booster and is a performance booster for the fans, but also the players.
Yes, there are rumours about England changing formation. That's something I would be open to. Apparently, Southgate's been trialling a 3-back in training this week as we prepare for Switzerland. It's going to look something like a 3-4-3. Yeah. Which, it's an interesting one. Apparently, we expect to see it will be a back 3 of Walker, of Stones and Konza, obviously with Gurhi out suspended. Then Trent at right wing back. The left wing back, I have no idea who's going to put there. It's either going to be Trippier out of position, Saka out of position, or Shaw with 1 foot. Then a midfield...
The difference is Shaw has been back in team training this week.
And that's the thing. If he is fit to play, that is a difference maker for England. Because the biggest issue in our build-up at the moment is we get the ball to the left-hand side, and then we go, well, Trippier can't cross it, so we've got to go back round again.
Would you play him for the first... But in hindsight, right... Play him for the first 45 minutes. If England get 1 or 2-0 up, and then we can bring him off, would you do that, or would you just not risk him at all?
For me, it depends what we see in training.
Yeah.
Because they can, with the amount of players that are there, they can easily do an 11-11. Yeah. Like low I guess like
intensity
low
game.
intensity game, 30 minutes, just see what Shaw's like. If
Yeah.
he's able to play, you ramp that up. If we can get him starting in this game, that's the ideal situation, because for me, he adds so much width to England's attack.
Yeah.
I think Trent starting a right wing back could be the difference maker as well. That's a lot of creativity we gain.
But he's got cover.
And exactly, he'd have Carl Walker, one of the paciest fullbacks, who has looked absolutely shit at this tournament. But if he is playing on the right-hand side of a back three, maybe the two of them can work together, and two terrible right-backs might make one good one.
Him and Stones in the Slovakia game were absolutely shocking, and it worries me. And we'll just touch on the Konza thing for a moment. If that is not Ezri Konza, and is either Lewis Dunk or Joe Gomez, we might as well pack
Gomez
up.
I'm not so against, but Lewis Dunk.
If Lewis Dunk is starting in the Euro 2024 quarter-final, we might as well pack our bags.
That's beg the question why we didn't take Jared Branthwaite again, but alas, that is Southgate's master plan. And then in midfield, it would be something like Mainu Rice, and then Bellingham and Foden playing off of Kane, or Bellingham Palmer, or Foden Palmer, and you drop Bellingham in, something like that. But we'd expect it to be Bellingham Foden based on what we've seen in this tournament so far.
So it would match Switzerland quite nicely.
It would, and the interesting thing would be either Saka has to drop out of the team, or he has to play at left wing back. Either way, you do lose a lot of what Saka adds.
You do.
But in a way, is what England needs to take out one of our attackers. Because I think we've seen it quite evidently. Kane, Bellingham, Foden and Saka as a front four is not working.
No.
Either you've got to replace a personnel or change the way we're playing. Either way, I can't see how all four of them start in the same positions again. That just doesn't work.
The problem is, I think, if anything, Saka's the one. I mean, obviously Bellingham you're going to keep, but he can play. He can drop in or something. For me, Saka's the other one you don't take out. I think Foden has had a shocking tournament.
I guess it depends what formation they play. If they play with 2 8s, that's a role Saka can't really do, which Foden can. So, or 2 10s rather than 8s, really, because they're playing just off of Kane. So, yeah, and obviously then if Kane drops in, we've just got loads of people stood in the middle of the pitch.
Even if it is a 3-4-3, no matter what the personnel is, I like the fact that Gareth Southgate realises that he's finally realised something needs to change.
It does worry me he's acting a little bit late, because we are now heading into the quarter-final stage. He's doing a Roberto Martinez.
Against a very good Switzerland side who we should probably
know what they're
touch
doing,
on.
have set up really well at this tournament, have looked brilliant every game.
What a campaign. What a campaign. A group stage, unbeaten in the group stage, with Germany, who are one of the best sides at the tournament, with Hungary, who, yes, they weren't as good as they were expected to be, but they were still a handy side, and they drew to Scotland, which was very funny. But the Italy game, I mean, yes, Italy haven't been great, but Switzerland deserved to win that from start to finish. They were better in every single department. They played Italy off the park, and Murat Yakin clearly knows how to set up a side to beat nations who aren't performing well.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Obviously, Italy have been terrible, and the Germany game didn't matter for much because Germany already through. But yeah, Italy have been terrible, but so have England, so have Netherlands, and Turkey aren't Turkey are a good side, but they're not the best team at the tournament.
Yeah,
It's not impossible Switzerland get to the final here.
No.
And then they're one game away from glory.
Exactly.
They've looked really good at this tournament. If they continue to set up in the way they have, I don't see who on this side of the draw beats them.
Yeah.
Unless England suddenly change the way they're playing, they look really good, Turkey. Switzerland. I'm excited by how they're playing at the moment. I think they've outsiders for the tournament.
They're playing it to a T. Murat Yakin knows exactly how to set up a side for 90 minutes who can remain defensively solid, but when they get the chance to come forward, they will. I mean, they're known over the last few years under Murat Yakin to sit so defensively and play really nice defensive football. But in that Italy game, they put Italy under pressure for 30 minutes of that first 45. They were so good. They were so good in that game. And England have got to be careful because, I mean, they concede to Slovakia. I mean, I know Schranz has become the best right winger in the world during Euro 2024, but Switzerland will punish. Ndoye's been brilliant. Vargas has been brilliant. Even Brian Mbolo still running it back for Switzerland, scoring goals. I'm really impressed by the Switzerland side, and I think England have got to be very careful because there could be another upset on the cards here.
Yeah, I think a lot of people underestimated them, and it's weird because you look at the squad and it's so strong. It's probably on account of the fact they got tanked 6-1 by Portugal at World Cup round of 16. But you look at the team and you've got Granit Xhaka, who's been part of an unbeaten Leverkusen side this season, who lost one game in the Europa League. That was it. Other than that, they've not lost a game this season. You've got Akanji, who's been part of the best team in the world, Man City, this season. Arguably the best team in the world. Obviously, they lost in the Champions League, but they've been really strong. Fabian Schär, who plays a really high level of football. Remo Freuler in the Premier League. Abischer, part of a Bologna side who have been incredible this season in Serie A. Jan Sommer, the best goalkeeper in Serie A this season with Inter Milan. There's so many good players in here. I think the problem is a lot of people weren't aware the goal's going to come from. And actually, that is still a bit of a fear because they've come from all over the place. I mean, both wing-backs have got a goal. Freuler's got a goal. Vargas has got a goal. Shaqiri got a brilliant goal. And I do think they lack a clinical goal scorer. But in knockout football, you don't need a clinical goal scorer.
You just need one.
You need someone that's going to stick the ball in the back of the net in that moment.
Vargas scored a worldie against Italy. Arbisha scored an absolute screamer against Hungary.
Shaqiri's goal.
Shaqiri's
the best of the tournament.
Was brilliant. That's what they do. Like they can do that. They can get to play this football. But then when you've got the players who've got the ability to score from 25 yards out, it works well. And I think the other big thing for Switzerland is an elite level goalkeeper in Jan Sommer. We've seen the big upsets of this tournament have come from the sides with brilliant goalkeepers. Georgia got to the round of 16. Mostly because of Marashvili. Slovenia nearly beat Portugal, took Portugal to penalties thanks to Jan Oblak. Switzerland can do the same with Jan Sommer.
Yeah, I think a lot of people didn't expect much from some of this tournament because Serie A isn't a league that is renowned for its attacking talent. But for me, any goalkeeper that keeps Gregor Kobel on the bench is someone who catches my attention. He's been brilliant this tournament. And if Switzerland keep going the way they are, I do have a lot of doubt about Saturday for England. But let's give loose predictions then. And these are going to be biased. But Harry, what do you expect from this game?
Yeah, I think I'm going to go with England. I think England will step it up though. If we do see this change in system, if we do see a change in personnel, then that's the thing. I think change is the big word for England. If England do change, they will win this game. If they don't change, because I feel like Switzerland can beat England. They play the same because they'll look how England have played at the tournament and they'll play to that. And if England play that way, Switzerland will win. If England change something, can Switzerland adapt to that? I'm not too sure because we haven't seen it yet at the tournament. The reason they beat Italy is because they knew how Italy played. Italy didn't change anything. Switzerland beat them. If England make changes, England will win. It's as simple as that for me.
Yeah, I completely agree with you there. So let's just roll straight into the last quarter-final game at 8 o'clock on Saturday. Netherlands versus Turkey. This has potential game of the round for me because you've got two sides who are really exciting. You've got a Turkey team who just commit themselves 100% to the attack. Defensively, they've been a little bit suspect of this tournament, but it doesn't matter. It hasn't mattered so far. I think Mary Demiral will likely start. I mean, based on his performance against Austria, it'd be ridiculous to drop him now.
Go up front.
And they look so much more solid with him in there. Because he just has that aerial presence, a bit of height, a bit of physicality, and then obviously the 2 goals he scored helps as well. But I think Turkey are a really exciting team. Then you've got a Netherlands side who, while they flattered to deceive in the group stage, did look a lot better against Romania. They tanked the Romania side who looked incredible in their group with Ukraine and Belgium and Slovakia. So I think it's going to be a really tight game. I can't really call it either way. I think that Netherlands, obviously, top goal scorer with Cody Gakpo. He's been really good. Turkey, I've mispronounced their name already in this video, but Turkey, of course, have so many great players like Arda Güler, Kenan Yildiz, Hakan Çalhanoğlu. Players, he'll be back in this game, and that could be key for their creativity. So I really like both sides. It's going to be a really tight game, I think. Yeah,
I think, as you say, I think Netherlands have got a lot of quality, and as you say, we're really good in that round of 16 match. But Turkey, I mean, I love it. There seems to be we'll push everyone forward to score, and if we don't, they win the ball back. As soon as they cross the halfway line, you boot them. You just give the player a kick like that. There's a like if they cross into your half, they don't get the ball. Either you get the ball back or you take out the man, and it is brilliant. It is that commitment. It is that desire, the passion. I mean, they've got the most yellow cards at the tournament for a reason because they're going to put their bodies on the line. And if that means they foul the player and get a yellow card, so be it. But they could win the ball back, and if they do, it works well. So I love the high pressure intensity football that Turkey are playing.
Yeah, they've got the most yellow cards in any tournament ever history. So, I mean, 18 yellow cards. If they pick up another one in this game, they'll be the highest of Euros history. I think also of World Cup history. I'm not exactly sure there. So it's been a very aggressive tournament for Turkey so far. But they've not got a red card yet.
They haven't.
So that does bode well that they can manage. I mean, they have had 2 players suspended, three players, I think, Bardakci, Akaden and Hakan Çalhanoğlu have all been suspended for 2 yellow cards, but they've not had any straight reds yet.
They haven't, but they do average more than 4 yellow cards a game.
That is true, but it's working for them.
And I think Anthony Taylor's refereeing that game.
I'm not sure.
So that could
if
be
it
fun.
is, then I will be placing bets on a red card at some point during that 90 minutes. But yeah, it should be a really good game. A loose sort of prediction, Harry, what are you saying for this one?
I think Netherlands, they up the performance in the round of 16. I was thoroughly impressed with them. I'm going to back Netherlands. Sorry. I think they've got the better quality. Turkey will give it a fight, probably a literal fight, and
hopefully.
Yeah, but I think Netherlands, they've got the better quality. I think they'll just edge it.
Yeah, I think Netherlands are a slightly stronger team, but I'm liking the upsets of this tournament. I haven't gone for any yet in the quarterfinals, so I'm going to back Turkey. I think they're going to get to the same finals of the European Championships. I think Montella's done really well. I think, yes, Netherlands up the performance against Romania, but I have doubts over the quality of Romania anyway, because I think Ukraine, Belgium and Slovakia all weren't incredible at this tournament. I mean, Slovakia did really well, but...
Ivan Strand.
Well, exactly.
Sign him up.
It's not exactly the highest level of opposition there. I don't think Koeman still has it. I don't think Depay's been at this tournament at all. I've not seen him. Gakpo's been good, but he's a player that isn't impossible to stop. And I think if you start putting some strong challenges on Gakpo, on Xavi Simons, you take them out of the game as threats for me, because they're going to start to shy away. So if Turkey can keep solid first 10 minutes, maybe get a goal after 59 seconds again, that would be great. And then if they can just build on that, grow into the game... For me, Turkey could definitely take this.
Yeah,
so
fair enough.
Them.
Yeah.
But yeah, should be a really interesting quarterfinal stage. Remember, we will be live for every single game, so join us from 5 o'clock tomorrow for Spain, Germany, then obviously 8 o'clock for Portugal, France, 5 o'clock on Saturday for England, Switzerland, 8 o'clock for Netherlands versus Turkey. I'm excited for it. It's going to be a fantastic quarterfinal stage, and thanks so much to everyone that's joined us throughout this year to watch any of our coverage. We appreciate it massively. But that is everything from us today. Thank you guys very, very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.
See ya.